Hello again, friends. It's Sharon from Mad Paper Crush. And I don't know about you, but I have been wanting to kind of document what's been happening the last couple months. And I do like to journal, but I'm not always as consistent as I want to be. So writing things out longhand, I thought might be a little too much for me to really document the things I wanted to do. So instead, I decided to document it using lists. And I thought that that would make a great way to keep my memories about the things that have been going on in the last couple of months with COVID-19. So today, we're going to make this little tag book of lists so that we can document our experience through the last couple months with COVID-19 on some tags. So this should be a quick and easy way for you to jot some things down, to come back and put more things down if you think of more things. I just thought this was a perfect way for me to capture my memories, my emotions, everything that was going on during this time. So let me just show you what this is going to look like. You can see I have a little title page here, and each tag has something on the back where you can journal. I added some, cutouts from books throughout there. I added some of my labels from my Found Numbers kit. And then I also have titles of lists. So I want to remember some of the buzzwords that I kept hearing throughout this last, couple months. So stay at home, quarantine, unprecedented times, those kinds of things. I want to keep a list of those things so I can remember what was happening during this time. So some of them I don't have specific lists on here yet, so there's plenty of room for me to add more, but like things I want to remember. My daughter's been home from college and had to finish her year of college here at home, and those are kinds of things that I want to just jot down to remember. My search history. I don't know if you've ever gone in and looked at your search history, but it's very interesting. So I thought it would be cool to go in there and remind myself of some of the things I had, looked up on Google or, different search places throughout this time. Favorite dinners. So we ate at home a lot, and we're still eating at home. And so I thought it would be fun to jot down some of the favorite things that our family had together. Things I did too much. I realized I got into certain habits being at home, like, never getting out of yoga pants or something. Those are the kinds of things I'm going to write down about things I did too much. Things that were always sold out. So going to the store has been a challenge in the last couple months. And so I thought it would be fun to write down some of the things that I seemed like I could never get, and crazy things like a kit to make tacos. I could never get it. I don't know. It was always sold out. Things I'm looking forward to. So as I think about the things in the future, after we get through this, what do I want to do again? I want to think about it from this standpoint, me being at home right now. I want to think about those things that I'm looking forward to. TV shows I binge watched. That's just, I'm not proud of some of the things I did binge watch, but it was always fun when I was sitting down with my husband and my daughter to watch some shows together. And then, like I said, some of the tags don't have lists ready to go on them, but they are ready for me to add things to them. And we're going to be making all of these tags together, but then I'm also going to be decorating them with this page of decoration, which you may have seen as I flipped through here. So I made this freebie for you as well to use if you would like to, documenting days. So it has all of the different lists that I have put in here. I have some labels that are blank if you wanted to add your own lists. And then I have some of the dates and the title that I used for lists here, and plus some fussy cut elements that you could use if you would like to as well. If you would like to get this, you can go to madpapercrush.com/documenting. So this word right here, and I will link that down below so that you can get that. And let's go ahead and make this little list tag book so that you can document your own COVID-19 experience. Let's go. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to need and use for this project. So the first thing is I have a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper, and it's a pattern that I don't really care for. I don't, think I'm going to use it for anything else. So I'm going to be using this, and this is what will cut our tags down into the size that I want for this list book. So that's going to be 3 inches wide by 6 inches tall. So each page will make 8 tags. So if you want more than 8 lists, or if you want to do a cover or whatever, you can do more than that if you want to. So definitely have something that you can create the size of your tags with. All right, and I'm going to just put that aside so I can kind of explain some of these other things. Now, some of the other tools, of course, I'm going to probably be using my cutter, which I don't have out right now, but it's my Fisker's cutter. I probably will use that at the end, but if not, sometimes it's easier to use a rotary cutter for this. So we'll see what I feel like doing when I get there. And then a corner rounder. I think I'm going to make my my lists with rounded corners. And then for the collage part, I'm going to be using different types of papers. So I'm going to be using some music pages, and a lot of these are I've just pulled from my scrap bin. So definitely start there. See what you have kind of left over in the bin, because if you want to do a collage on the front like I'm going to do, then this is a good thing to have. And then I pulled out just a couple of dictionary pages from an old dictionary that I thought might be fun to have the words and stuff on there. And then also I'm going to be using some advertisements. Now these are from the advertising cut digital kit that I have, but you could certainly just grab some from an old magazine, or something like that have some interesting pictures. And I kind of pulled some that I thought might be, relevant to some of the things I'm going to be, talking about, like, the different things that I wore during this whole stay-at-home thing, and the fact that I desperately need a haircut. So I just thought this train your mustache and the way it should go, reminds me that I've needed a haircut for how long. So I thought that was fun. And then some tea and different things. So I liked these for the little black and white pictures that were on there. But you could certainly go any way with this. You could put any other kind of thing that you want for your collage. So that's some of the starter things. And then I'll probably also be using some washi tape. So this is where I'm going to be, adding some color in. So I don't know exactly which ones I'm going to be using. I just pulled out a bunch that I thought might be fun. So some blues and some greens with a little pop of some pink and red there. So I'm going to be using some of those, but you could, use other things too. You could use patterned paper, from your scraps if you wanted to. I have a whole bin of that kind of stuff too that maybe I could pull in, like just scraps of scrapbook paper that you could use to pull in for that too. And then I'm also going to be using this scrap bin. So this is more of my book page paper bin. So I have I have one bin where I keep all my scrapbook paper scraps. So that was kind of what I showed you before. I just kind of pulled out that piece from it. And then I also have this little bin which has more book pages, ledger pages, forms, those kinds of things. So I keep them separate because I'm not sure why I keep them separate, to be honest with you, but I have some ledger, coffee dyed ledger pages here, but I like the lines on this. So, just notebook paper with lines, some edge of a check thing there. So there's, a lot in here that I'll probably be using as well. So I'll be flipping through that to kind of pull out some of that stuff to go at the end of the collage as well. And then I'm also going to be using some rubber stamps, I think. So I'm not sure exactly which ones I'm going to be using. I pulled out some that I thought were fun. So I think this one is a Tim Holtz one, but I liked the clock. So I thought that was kind of cool since, we've been under stay-at-home order for quite some time. I thought that would be nice to kind of have that. And then there's also this Live the Life You Have Imagined. While I definitely don't feel like I'm doing that right now, I just think it's an interesting sentiment. And then I have these two kits, which are Seth Apter kits, and I just love some of his patterns and things, and those might be fun on there too. So these kind of look like like screw heads maybe or something, and then a bunch of just different patterned circles. I love them all, so I'm not sure which ones I'll be using. And then this one, this has a cool number line in here, which I think is fun, and also the letters, and even this that kind of maybe looks like some burlap or something. So I'm probably going to be using a couple of those as well in here. I'm also going to be using my sewing machine, which is not on camera, but I like to sew around the edges of my of these. I'm going to of the tags, so I don't have to worry about gluing, you know, so perfectly around every edge, because the sewing machine will hold everything together. And then also I'm going to be lining the page. So once we create our collage, we're going to probably do it on this side. And then once we create the collage, I'm just going to be using some coffee dyed paper on the back side for the backing of the list, so that I have a place to, you know, write the things that I want to put in my list. And then of course a pencil and a ruler. If you're going to be using rubber stamps, you're going to need some ink. I'll probably be using a hole punch towards the end, and I'm going to bind my bind it together with one of these rings, and not this one. I'm gonna find a smaller one. These are really big, but I think I'm gonna use one of these size, and I'm not sure how big that is. I think it might be 1.5 or 2 inch, a 2-inch ring maybe. So I think this will be fun to put all the tags on, so that I can just easily flip through them and, you know, be reminded of what was happening during this time. I may also use some eyelets for the tags so that they are reinforced, but we'll see when we get there. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet either. So, all right, let's go ahead and glue. Of course, we need glue. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Hopefully I've got almost everything. And if not, I'll let you know as we go. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a master board, which we will collage on to get the basis for each of our list tags. And the reason I'm doing a master board is that I believe this is a good way to help your project have a cohesive look throughout, since we'll be using, you know, the same pieces of collage throughout the whole thing. And it also makes it easier because you can just, you know, put everything down once and then, you know, cut it apart to get our list tags. And the way I'm going to be doing mine is based on Marguerite Miller, the way that she sometimes does masterboard collages. So I will link her channel down below. If you enjoy collage, she is wonderful at it. I love seeing her work. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by creating my lines on here for my tags, so that I kind of have an idea of where my 8 tags are, so that when I start collaging, I can make sure I'm not, you know, putting things either too close to the edge, or, you know, I'll be cutting, you know, a picture down the middle or something. So, you know, if I have my little typewriter here, I may not want to just cut it in half. I want to, you know, kind of keep the lines so that things are, you know, kept separate and things like that. So that's why I'm going to do this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off my 12 by 12 page at every 3 inches. So 3, 6, and 9. And I'm going to do that at the top and the bottom. And then I will do, in the other direction, we'll mark it off at 6 inches to make our split. So I'm just gonna do that here, 6 inches, and then I'll just pencil in all those lines. Okay, So I wanted to notice, it looks like this line is off for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. So I'm just going to, I'm pretty sure this is where the 9-inch should be. And I probably could have just used my grid here to do that. I don't know what happened there. So I am just going to kind of erase that line because I don't want to get confused as I'm doing some collage, but that looks better. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the collage, and I'm just going to explain to you what I'm going to do first. And then I'll probably just, put this on time lapse, put it on a little bit faster as I go through and do the whole thing. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these papers that I had told you about, and I'm going to start with, those three. So I'm just going to start with my dictionary pages, my advertisements, and my music pages. And I'm not going to fill the entire thing because I want to fill in with some of my line papers and my graph papers just to add some, differences throughout the whole page. And then we'll do the stamping and the washi tape and stuff as well. So right now we're just going to start with these pages, and I'm probably going to tear them by hand and then start placing them around. So these I'm probably going to do later because I want them to show. So I want them kind of on top of the first layer. So I'm just going to do some tearing here, and I like the idea of not having too many borders on there, but these could always be covered up if you needed them to be. So I'm just going to tear some things and then decide, kind of where I want it. So for example, I like that this says orderliness, but this whole thing doesn't have to be in one tag. So, we could put it over a couple tags so you would get some of the look of this on different places. So I kind of like this idea of it sort of being in this lower right hand corner of this tag. So I like that one. So I might look for other words kind of like that. But you certainly don't have to do that. So I picked the O page. So let's see. So once I get a couple of those going, you'll realize that there's really not that many pieces that you need to fill this whole thing in, especially because we're using so many things. So like I might only need 3 or 4 pieces of dictionary page, same with this, 3 or 4 pieces of that to go through here. So let's see, I could do something like that. And I'm just going to start tearing into some other things here. And if you want a straighter edge, or you can certainly cut things if you want them to be completely straight. I always enjoy rough edges on things. So I'm just going to tear some things down without worrying too much about what the edges look like. But I love is that called a clef? I'm not a music person, so I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. But I like the way that looks there. And I could use some over here. And I kind of like the words on this one. So we could maybe use some of that. And I'm just going to keep going like this. Okay, now you can see I haven't glued anything down yet, and I did that on purpose because I kind of want to get it to a point where I like the way it looks before I glue it down. So I'm kind of at that point now. I think I want to add a little bit more because I want this to be more music and word heavy than I do, you know, my plain papers. Even though we're probably going to add more even on top of that. I just kind of wanted to show you how I lay everything out first, and then I'll go back in and I will, you know, lift pieces up and glue them down. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you is, you know, I have everything kind of going, you know, straight. I have it straight, but you don't have to do that. You could certainly, you know, put things any way you want to make them, you know, look the way you'd like them to look. You don't have to keep them right side up. You don't even have to keep them straight. You could, you know, do them just kind of angled or something like that as well. So I just want you to feel free, you know, to do whatever makes you happy, you know, during this part of it. So I'm going to do a little bit more, and then I'm going to start gluing things down. So I think I'm going to this piece right here, and you can also overlap. So don't feel like, you know, you can't overlap things either, because you definitely can overlap things so that when you glue them down, you might have to, you know, pull something out from underneath first, you know, before you put the other one down or something like that. So, you know, I may even, you know, do some of that as I'm ready to get this going there. Okay, I think I'm ready to start gluing things down. So I don't have too much overlapping, but I'm going to look at the places where I have some overlap, and I'm going to glue those down first. So I'm just going to grab I'm grabbing my glue stick here and a little notebook page here, book that I have, and I'm going to start with the things that are under first. And I think I'm going to start with the things that are closest to me first, so that when I'm moving my hands around, I don't shuffle everything around. So I'm just going to move these off to the side, and then I'll do, you know, like these two, and then I'll put that one back, and then we'll kind of work our way up the page. Okay, our first layer is done, and you can see I still have a lot of white space, and that's okay, because we're going to start filling in our second layer using my paper, different book page and paper scraps that I have here. And now this is going to be probably a lot more, try and fit something in, tear it down, glue it on kind of thing, because now I'm just sort of filling things in. So I like the way this looks, and I'm just going to start filling things in. Now, if I have a place, like you can see here between the top of this, between these two pieces, there's a little bit of space. That's where we'll probably fill in with layer 3, which is going to be our washi tape or pattern paper or something like that. So I'm just really going to be looking for filling in the bigger spaces with some of these pieces that I have here. So let me just do one or two here. So I love this piece, and let's see where I could fill this in. I think this might be fun here because I can use these holes to kind of be over the side here. So I'm just going to tear this down a little bit. And if you go off the end of the page, that's okay. We can cut it down, cut it down later when we start cutting everything apart. So I love the look of that there. And let me just do a couple more so that you can kind of see where I'm going with this. And then I will speed this up for you as well. So this is where I would probably start turning more things if I wanted to. So, usually your notebook paper goes this way, but I certainly think it would look kind of neat if it was going, you know, a different way. And I definitely feel like this needs some torn edges around here. So I'm just going to try and fill in part of this spot without covering up too much of my advertising, because I like those too. So, you know, that might go there. And then let's see, I have more of this ledger paper that I like. And this might be fun actually, like right across here. That might be good. Yeah, actually I like that a lot. So this is kind of what I'm going to do here. So I'm just going to be going through and looking at some of this stuff that I have. And I may even go over, you know, some of the things that I already have as I fill things in. But that's what I'm doing right now, is just kind of starting to look around and fill everything in. Okay, second step done. I had a hard time trying to decide if I was done with that one, and that's okay. So the fun thing about this is that you can always go back in and add more. You can go over everything that you want to. You know, there's no right or wrong way to do this. So the next thing I'm going to do, I think, is start adding a little bit of color to this. So I have some spots that are going to be a little bit too big for my washi tape. So we'll have to see, you know, maybe how I want to handle that. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, look at a spot that I think needs a little color and is still uncovered on my paper, and just put some torn washi tape on those. And now I will probably also, let me just grab a different one here. I'll also probably put some of these, not all horizontal. I'll put some vertical on here. So like this one, I think would look nice like this. So you can see I'm going to start adding in, you know, just some pops of color all over the place. And I do like to do some of the edges, so like the top edges and different things with the washi tape. I don't know why, I think that looks good. And the other thing is, if you're not sure where your lines are, you can go back over them at this point. So I'm just going to line this up here and real quickly go over my, you know, where my taglines are, so that I know where I'll be cutting, so I can kind of remember where everything is supposed to be cut. Did I do that on the wrong one? Yes. Oh my goodness. Don't do that, because then you have to get rid of that line. I did 4 inches instead of 3, I think, right there. All right, I might have to do a little fixing up of that a little bit more. So let me try this again. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if I can be a little bit more exact. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And now from there, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I can also do redo my 6-inch line, and that one I can almost see here, so I will, oops, I don't think that must not be lined up quite right. There we go. Okay, so now I can kind of see where my lines are supposed to be again for cutting. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going with my washi tape here and add in some more pieces. Okay, so now I have almost everything filled in, but not everything, and that's okay too. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of different things, and either I won't fill it in, which is totally good because there's so much going on here you can't really even tell, or I'll add something to the top of where there might be some blank spots if I don't like it later. So now it's time to grab your stamps if you're going to use them. So I think I'm just going to start with this this clock first, because I love the idea of adding time to this. So, and actually I'm going to use this bigger one. And for the clock, I think I'm going to use my black ink, but I've also pulled out this plum archival ink that I might use for some of the other stamps maybe. So first we're just going to see, this stamp feels sticky. I hope that it still works. I guess let's see. Wow, that didn't work at all. I wonder if that's my stamp or if that's my ink. I thought this ink was working. All right. These stamps, this stamp is very old, so it's possible that the stamp itself isn't taking on the ink or something. I know this one should work, so let's just try it on a scrap piece. Yeah, that works. I wonder if my ink isn't working. Let me grab, because I do want to do this in black, so I'll grab this one and see if maybe this one works better. I'm just going to add a little bit of my hot breath to it. And I think I'm going to try and go right over the top of where this was. Let me see if I can do that. It's probably not going to work the way I want it to, but once again, I'm okay with imperfection, and that looks much better. So maybe my stamp pad isn't holding stamps. So here's another place where you should look for your lines and decide if you want, your stamp to go across the lines or not. And both of those is okay. So I kind of like, there's a line right here. I think this might look kind of fun, maybe turned a little bit here on top of the words. I like that. And now I may do a couple where I actually go off the end of the page. And I don't want to do, too many of these, but I like how having a stamp in a couple of places pulls everything together. So I'm going to put this on here, and I'm actually going to stamp off of this page. So we just have a partial on here, so it kind of looks like it might go on to another tag or something. Okay, and I think that's good for this stamp. And now I think I'm going to pull out some of my Seth Apter ones, because I do love those a lot. Maybe I will start with the numbers. So I like the numbers, and I'm not going to use black for those. I think I'm going to use my plum ink for the numbers that I'm going to put down. And I'm just going to use this one. I'm not even going to put it on, I'm not even going to mount it as I do it. I'm just going to decide, I'm just going to put some ink on a little bit of this stamp, and then I'm going to find a spot where I want them and just press them on there. And I love how that looks. And I'm okay with, there only being maybe a partial number or something on there. Where's my lines? Okay, so this will be all on that one, but up on the top. And we could even do some sideways ones for these. That might be fun. Let's see where else we might want something. Maybe up here. And once again, I'm trying not to get too much of one thing on one tag, but I like having things kind of spread around a little bit. Okay, I think that looks good. Now I just need to decide if I want anything additional, if I want any patterns on here or anything, but I think I'm liking how that's looking just like that. So I'm just going to move these out of the way for a second. Okay, so now we're going to cut these down, and I think I am going to use my rotary cutter just to save my cutter blade from using it all the time. So I'm just going to line this up on my grid again, and I'm going to hopefully line it up, and everything should match. And then I'm just going to cut on the lines so that we have our 6 pieces. Okay, and let's do that again. Well, I'm getting ready to cut on the 4-inch line again, friends. Bye. 1, 2, 3. It's right here. This is where I should be cutting. Ugh. I've been having a day. All right, and my last one. Now, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to count this time. Make sure I have it right. Okay. And then I'm going to go back through and do my 6-inch cut. And I think I can probably do these all together. If I line them up and count correctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right here. And now I'm just going to take my time and do a couple of cuts here to get through everything. Make sure that we get through everything. All right. So now I'm going to put that away. Let's take a look at our tags. And so you can see, I think they turned out beautifully. I love how collage looks, and you can see this one I'm going to need to do some trimming around the edges, actually this one too, but look at that. I love the way they look. I love them. And you could go even further. So if you have you know, little bits of ephemera that you'd like to put on, you can put those on. You could add you know, some fussy cut items to it if you wanted to. I think fussy cut butterflies or flowers would probably look really good on these, you know, on the ones maybe that are a little less, you know, plain or something like that, but you don't have to as well. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I haven't completely decided. I just know that this is where I'm starting. I want to get these ready to go just so I can start doing my list, because I know that when I start a list, I'll probably end up, you know, coming back to it and adding more things to it. So this will be the perfect way to get my documentation started, and then I can just continue with it as, you know, things come to mind, or, you know, things change and I want to add things to it. So boy, a lot of these had something to cut off, didn't they? This one looks like it has more to cut off. The other thing about these edges, I will say, is that it's okay if they're not completely perfect, because once again, we're going to sew them. So, and you don't have to do that either. Now, the reason I wanted to cut them down before I did the backs is because I want to try to conserve as much paper as I can to do the backs. So now we're going to get these ready to put the backs on. If there's anything else you wanted to add to these that might go through the paper, so for example, if you were going to sew something on here, you would want to do it now so that your stitching wouldn't go through to the plain paper backing that we're going to put on. So let me just grab what I'm going to use. I'll reach into my giant paper drawers here. Away for now. But I have just some coffee dyed paper, and I'm gonna put these on here. So I'm not sure if they'll all fit on here. I think I have some leftover papers in here that I might be able to use as backing. If not, I mean, I'll just go into my scraps and find them. You could also use more than one on there. So you could, since this one, doesn't totally fit this, you could use two to make a backing. You could even collage the back. I've done that before, and I've seen that done before, and I think that looks nice too. So you can decide how you want to do the backs of your papers. I think I want them to be, for this project, I want them to be all one piece so that I can, keep my list all in, one piece on the back. So that being said, now, if you're going to put anything else on here, you're going to do that first. I am not. I think I'm good with how these are. I like the way they look. But what I am going to do is I'm going to round the corners. So I'm just going to, on all of them here, I'm just going to create a little rounded corner so that I have, all of my tags. Whoops, that one didn't cut very good, did it? I don't think I had it in there, right? There we go. So that each of my tags have a nice rounded corner. So that's kind of how I want them to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut them all up right now, get all those rounded corners on there before we hit the next step. Okay, corners are all round, and these are ready for me to start backing. And the more I look at them, the more I completely love them. So, and that's a good thing, right? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to once again use my glue stick, but I'm not going to, I'm just going to go pretty close to the edge to glue these down. I'm not going to worry about how much glue is on there because, as I said before, I'm going to be sewing, and usually when I sew off the edge, so it will actually seal the edges of this. So, and we actually probably could have waited to round the corners because I'm going to have to do that with once I get these covered, I'm going to have to do that again anyway. So I'm just going to line them up with the bottom of the page and get as many on here as I can. And hopefully I can get them all cut out. So once I do this, I like to get the glue on and get them on, and then I'll turn this page over and use my bone folder to kind of smooth things out. So let me show you that. I have 3 on here right now. I'm going to turn them over, grab my bone folder, and just kind of, make sure that there's no wrinkles, or if there are, they're not, too protruding there as I go. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish gluing all these down. right, I have everything glued down. I was just going to give it a minute to set up because I don't want them falling off when I cut them. And I'm going to use my rotary cutter again and my ruler to cut these out. And that's all I'm going to do. And I'm just going to cut the straight edges, and then I'll go back in with my corner rounder and round everything off again. So to add this to my growing pile of plain book pages. And you can see I did not cut that one very straight. So once I start cutting them all out, I'm going to use my corner rounder again. And like I said, you know, you can wait until after you glue things down to do this. That probably would have been the smart thing. I was just thinking I needed to get that done because I didn't want to forget it before I sew them. So I'm just going to cut them all out and round all the corners again, and I'll be right back. Okay, we are getting there, friends. So now we have our list tags ready to be sewn. If you are going to do that, once again, that's not something that you have to do. These would be fun, even lined all the way around in some washi tape, or just add some drawn stitching to the end, or nothing at all. I think these would be fine just the way that they are. I may do a little bit of distressing because that's, you know, how I roll. And I'm just going to put just a teeny tiny little bit of distress around the edge first, and then I will do my sewing. So I'm just going to just a little bit right around the edge there, give it a little bit of distress. And then this will be ready for sewing. So I'm going to distress these up and I'm going to sew them, and I'll be right back. Okay, friends, I have sewn the outer edges of all of these, and you can see here I did a zigzag stitch, and I did the zigzag stitch off the edge so that it created a nice little sealed edge there for each of my tags. So I might cut down some of these strings. I might leave them on. I don't know yet. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of decoration. So I'm going to use for my lists and some additional decorating this Documenting Days freebie that I created, and you are welcome to use this if you would like to as well. And you can go to madpapercrush.com/documenting if you'd like to get this. So I printed it a little bit smaller, and then I actually made it into stickers on my silhouette. So this is what I'm going to be using just to make it a little bit easier for now. But the next thing I want to do before I do that decorating is I want to look through my tags here, and I want to decide if there's one that I would like to keep as sort of my title page, my cover. So I'm just going to kind of go through them, and I'm going to probably put the months on there, and I want to put this lists on there too, I think. So I haven't completely decided about that, but I know I want to look at, you know, is there one that I would like to have as a cover for this whole thing? So I kind of like these two, but like this one, I like that one, but I don't want to cover up the shoe. And I think if I start putting stickers and stuff on, it's going to cover up the shoe. So let's see, I like maybe having one with the clock on it, because I think, you know, that kind of shows, you know, how I'm thinking about time. This is, you know, documenting sort of the passage of time. Oh, I kind of liked that one too. So, and actually maybe we could use one that's a little less plain, even though there's no clock on here. This might be a good one to put that word lists on. So let me kind of look at this again here. And this one has a lot of up and down in it. So having, you know, a lists that goes across might be fun. Let's see. All right, I think I'm just going to use the sticker, the lists sticker, and I'm going to, before I actually stick it down, I'm gonna pull out those ones that I thought might be good for a title page. Ooh, I kind of like that. So, ooh, I could put this in the middle. I kind of like that. And then I could put one of the month dates down here. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'll save some of these other ones for my regular list. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put lists right there. And then I'm going to put maybe just May on here. And now my sticker cut kind of didn't go so good there. So I'm just going to make sure there's no white showing around the edges of my label here. And I think I'm just going to put this on kind of cockeyed. And I love the way that looks. So this is going to be my title page for my documenting COVID-19 here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of the list titles to the back. And maybe some of them might even be wrapping around. So I was thinking it might be fun to add a title. So this is buzzwords, and I could put this right at the top if I wanted to. But now remember, we are going to be putting eyelets in here. So make sure you don't put it someplace where your eyelet might go right through it. So, you know, I might keep it down a little bit like this. But it might also be fun to have the list, you know, title or whatever to be on the front, and then the back can be just all the words for you know, the list. So this one didn't get cut so good either, so I'm just going to add a little here. So I like the idea of just now as I think about it, let me just put this down on my grid here. I'm going to probably put my eyelet about 1.5 inches over and 1/2 inch down. So my eyelet's going to be about right there. I don't mind if it cuts off some of this sticker, but I'm going to put that right there. And I'm going to wrap that around, but it's not going to, I don't think it's going to go over my stitching. So I'll just cut that off later. But I like doing that because then I can have the title of the list on one side and put the words for the list on the other side. So now I'm going to take this barometer because I think that might be a fun thing to add here too. Just like that. And now this one's ready to go. So I have 2 of my lists all ready to go. And I was thinking that it might be fun for some of these, like I'm not sure what list I'm going to do for this one, but I thought it might be fun to add some of these to the back. So maybe the lists of things that I did too much. I have this barrel that says bitters. Maybe that is what goes on this list, because that was, you know, things I did too much. Maybe I wish I wouldn't have done so much, like ate so much or, you know, whatever. And then we can add this somewhere on here. I think I like that. So things I did too much, and I have my little bitters on the back there, and that one's ready to go. So that's all I'm going to do is to kind of decide how I'm going to finish these up. And I've still got some of my calendar dates left and everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish decorating these. And I have these empty list markers if I wanted to create something a little bit different on them. Okay, Now I have some lists and some stickers left over, and I'm probably going to make another page of tags to kind of fill that in. But right now I just kind of wanted to show you what I've got. So this is going to be my title page, and it's going to go on the front, and I'll probably add some sort of, information about what this is, what I'm doing with this little book that I'm making. So that's going to be that one. And I may even add something to the back of that. This is my buzzwords tag. This is my things I did too much. And I added a bitters to the back of that because I thought that was fun. Favorite dinners that we kept having or that we had once but never had again. Search history, and I trimmed that one off, this sticker off, and I put one of the butterflies on the back there. TV shows I binged watched because with my daughter and my husband around, it was fun to kind of dive into some of those things that maybe we all wanted to watch, and that was fun. I wanted to make sure I had a list of what those were. Things I'm looking forward to, so things that I want to do after this is over. And I thought this was a good one because one of those is get a haircut. So that's why I put that on here. And then this one has the brandy on there. So I thought that was fun. And then this one is, I put the list on the back of this, things I want to remember. And the other thing is, since, this area is pretty small, when I make a second set of tags, I could certainly have another tag that also, has the same list on it, or I could just put them together or something like that. So that is that. So now I'm going to go grab my eyelets and my crocodile, and let's get an eyelet on these things so we can put them on the ring. Okay, I have my eyelets here. I have 8 of them out and ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark where I'd like my eyelet to go because I want them to be in a very similar place. So like I had said before, I'm going to go in about an inch and a half and down about a half an inch. And I'm just going to make a little mark there so I know where to punch my hole. So I'm just going to do that for each of these so that I'm punching them in the same place. Okay, I'm going to use my little handheld crocodile. This one, I'm going to use, these eyelets are the 3/8 size. So I'm going to use the side with the bigger hole to punch all of my holes first here. And since I have them all marked, it makes it nice and easy for me to just find that hole that I made and punch through each one. Okay, I have all my holes punched. And now I'm going to put my eyelets in Make sure all my holes are the same way. And now these eyelets, these actually have a washer that goes along the back, which I like because it kind of gives it a little bit of a nicer finish on the back. But you certainly don't have to use these. Let me see how many. I'm trying to count out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So to use these, what you do is first you set up your crocodile to work with the 3/16 inch eyelet. And I believe that that is A and 1. So let's find 1 here. All right, so it's the presser, the bigger plunger there with the bigger cone to help make the edge. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting my eyelet through the hole that we made. And then before I crimp it, I'm going to add the washer to the back side. And now what I like to do is I like to put the plunger part, so this part, on the bottom, and then put my eyelet right through there, and then crimp it down. And I try to kind of go around a little bit to give it, and you can see how it wraps the inside of the eyelet around that washer there. And then we have a nice finish on this side. So I'm going to do that for all 8 of these. Put my eyelet in, put my washer on, maybe. And then crimp it down. Okay, I have all my eyelets on, and I wanted to just kind of show you. Let me find my first one here. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I guess it really doesn't matter. I wanted to kind of show you what it's all going to look like. Look at that. Okay, so you can see I've got them on my ring, and there's plenty of room for more if I wanted to do some more in there, which is good. And you can see I've got my title page here, the first one, and then you just flip through so that you can see all the lists. And I love it, guys. I really think that this is going to help me keep track of some things that I want to remember about this time. It'll help me be more consistent, and I'll be able to look back and kind of remember some of these things. So now I'd like to hear from you. Do you have a list that you can think of that would be good to document during this time? I would love to hear what you think would be interesting to document about what happened during this time so that you can look back on it. And also, if you can't think of a list, if you want to pick one of the lists that I have and give me something fun that would go on that list, that would be great too. So like things I did too much. Another one that I think is fun, favorite dinners. I'd love to hear what your favorite dinner was during this time, or TV shows that you binge watched, or you can tell me what buzzwords you've been hearing in your area. So, you know, things in my area are, you know, unprecedented times, and COVID-19, and I can't even think of any more off the top of my head, but I know there's some more. So leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I hope that you enjoyed this video, friends. I hope that you'll document your time during COVID-19. I know that's going to be real helpful for me I think it'll help me get some of my emotions out, but I also just want to remember this time because it is so strange and this is so big, it's so global, that I want to look back and remember some things as we go forward. So thanks again, friends. If you enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.